When I look at wrestling, the WWE, whenever I take a look at those showings, or when I used to watch wrestling when I was younger, I remember there would be two fighters in the ring, and they would usually have like dialogue. They'd be talking trash to each other, doing their promos. They would engage into their match, and they'd be fighting it out and doing all kind of moves. And one would do his finisher or whatever it was, and usually that would end the match. Now, the place would usually be packed full of fans and even people at home watching. Me, my grandfather, my uncle, my cousins, we would all be packed over at our house on Sunday evening, watching Sunday Night Heat, Monday night watching Monday Night Raw, and like I said, as the audience, we were looking at it in a sense of man, what is getting ready to happen next? Like, oh man, you know what? I think he gonna win. No, I think he gonna win. And we were always kind of like on the edge of our seats a little bit, especially the certain era um, around the Stone Cold and The Rock, Triple H, and um, I think Eric Bischoff was running the show for a little while, and you know a lot of those household names were like a part of the main events, and Chris Jericho, Christian Edge, all that. And we would be on the edge of our seats because we were rooting for certain wrestlers because we honestly wanted them to win, but we really didn't know what was going to happen. And that little bit of not knowing kept us interested, you know. But in reality, these fighters that were in that ring had already gone over this fight numerous times. They've gone over the script. They had rehearsed their moves. They rehearsed how they were going to do the finisher. If they were going to do a move that probably had a little bit more elbow grease in it, they would go over it so the other fighter wouldn't get hurt. They would rehearse how to do their finisher so that, they can still do it. It still looks good to the audience, but it's still safe for the other fighter as well as themselves. They knew who was going to win before they even went into the actual match. The referee knew who was going to win. The administration knew. The only ones who were left out of the loop was the audience, the consumers, or the regular citizens. The name of that organization today, I think they changed it to from WWF to WWE, which is World Wrestling Entertainment. I look at the world now, and the world, in my honest opinion, is like a glorified version of WWE. You got world leaders or world administrators and staff. You got all these higher ups and these elites that are in these places, and they really don't come out in public like that to speak. And if they do, you don't know who they are. These people are the ones who know what's really going on with the events happening in the world. Certain things happening, certain events happening, certain things take place, you know, certain shootings and bombings and things like that. I feel like a lot of these world leaders or world administrators have well foreknowledge of what's going to happen and why it's happening. I feel like a lot of this stuff they've probably gone over and staged themselves. The only ones that don't really know what's going on or why it's going on to the extent is military personnel and civilians. Military personnel, in my opinion, kind of get it the worst because they're told to follow a lot of directly affecting orders without question. A lot of things that usually trickle down to affect us later on down the road affects them first and foremost. They're a lot of times they're the ones who kind of get the ball rolling with certain events happening worldwide, influencing other countries to make their move, which in turn sometimes come back and affects us. I feel like we're the audience at a WWE event, and you got all this crazy stuff happening, and we're just kind of looking around and we're just amazed at everything that's happening, and we're wondering what's going to happen next. We're wondering why is this happening. We were rooting for one thing to happen and then that didn't happen. But I honestly feel like there's a script that these elites and these higher up and these world leaders have knowledge of and that we don't. And the narrative that they're trying to spin makes it seem like these are just naturally occurring events. But I honestly don't think that it is. I don't think that a lot of these events are just organically happening. C-19, I don't think that just organically happened. I feel like that was a planned event. I feel like that circumstance was planned and it was planned for the entire world. I feel like the solution that they developed for C-19 was planned. Not in the sense of we need a solution for this natural occurring event, but in the sense of I got a plan and this particular vaccine is a part of it. There's so much happening in the world and we get caught up on the basic stuff. Here in America, when I'm on certain social media platforms, no matter what it is, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, once I drop down into the comment section, I see the same types of comments. And it always relate back to politics some kind of way. No matter what is being spoken about, some kind of way it'll go back to Trump, Biden, Obama in some kind of way. We in this country, we get so caught up on that red and that blue. It's such a primitive thing for us to get caught up on. And these world administrators, these world leaders sit back and they know it. America talks about unity all the time. And we're so divided. And one of the biggest, obvious, most tired forms of division is Republican and Democrat. It's so tired. It is so dry, ashy, tired, insignificant, non-factor. It is so old. And we still live and die by that. Vote Democrat, vote Republican is so old. So when certain events happen, we're so divided, we're just looking for any chance to blame it on the opposing party. Any chance. It don't matter what the chance look like. Just long as I can crumble it up and reshape it and just throw it at the opposing team and blame it on them, I'll do it. It doesn't even matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it makes sense. Doesn't matter. Long as if I can just project it onto the opposing team, that's all I need. That's all that matters to me. These world leaders know that that's all that matters to you. They know it. They get that information and that foreknowledge from watching sports and seeing how certain sport teams affect certain cities, seeing how certain sport teams and events affect social circumstances, certain social outcomes. Over in other countries, certain sporting events are so serious that they got to have military personnel there because of how violent it gets. They know that there's something that happens here. They know that there is something that happens here in regards to that. You get one team and another team. You give this team one color, this team a different color, and you have them go against each other. And everyone else in that arena will follow suit. And they will follow suit to the degree of ready to fight and harm one another over a sporting event that you didn't really physically participate in. But they know that psychology, they know something is going to tick a certain way up here. So they present the information in a certain way to get it to tick here. They know that you're going to react this way. They know if they let this event happen and then let this be the outcome, that this group is going to go on a rampage. They know that. A lot of the stuff that be happening, especially nowadays, looks and feels staged. That Capitol insurgents that happened, that smelled staged. When I first heard about it, I'm just like, how? Yeah, that's staged. And I moved on with my day. It wasn't a WWE situation for me at all. I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I knew that that stanked. That whole situation stanked. C19 hit the scene. And I said, look at how many celebrities are showcasing this and sport figures. Look how many commercials is embedded around this. Then they started coming up with categories on Netflix. It was like contagion, outbreak, sort of categories. And I'm like, look at how they're making money off of it. They're kind of playing into it and leaning into it a little bit. And it was just odd to me. They they realize what makes us tick. They realize what we're going to lean to mentally and they play into it. And this stuff has been well thought out. So to us, we're like, oh man, what's going to happen next? Or we're like, Republican and Democrat. This is the Democrats' fault, this is the Republicans' fault. We're so basic with this. And we've trusted higher ups way too easily. We think everybody got great intentions for us. We think nobody will ever try to deceive us and manipulate us like cattle. We don't think anybody, oh no, just this V scene is this is for my well-being, right? No, this C19, that happened. It was a naturally occurring event and it was just unfortunate. And so we just want to do the best we can to keep ourselves and our neighbors safe. And there's real aspects to that. We've lost family members, we've lost friends. People who were hospitalized that we know directly. I got a family member that had it and was directly affected by it. I wasn't able to go over there and hang out, spend time with them. It's not that the effects wasn't real, and that's what gets us. We gotta realize that a lot of these world leaders know that. They know that the effects are gonna be real, and you can't run from the effects. That doesn't change the fact that this was staged. Doesn't change the fact that it was staged. I truly believe that all of this stuff is staged. All this stuff is carefully thought out. Our reactions are carefully thought out. Look at the blatant misuse of law in this country. Look at everything, how this country is just being misused, period. Just period. Just how everything in this country is blatantly misused and mishandled. This thing in Afghanistan, from what I remember, we spent about what 20 years there, and it was a article came out that was saying that it was on average of $150 million a day was sent for our presence there over the last 20 years. Somebody else said 300 million. I'm not sure which one is which. $150 million per day for 20 years. Someone was saying that that was what we were spending for that. And then you look at California and certain parts of California, the homeless rate is just climbing. And it's staggering how many people there are homeless. It's one of the most relentlessly expensive places to be located. It's just expensive for no reason. Even if you try to leave there, they're taxing you for that. So many veterans who served that are in unfortunate situations, who are kind of cast aside, who are forgotten, who are not taken care of, and who are neglected in this country that served for this country. And they're not taken care of, they're not prioritized. And it's odd to me. But they know what the chances of how we'll lean up here. They know the chances of us leaning this way or this way. Because in this country, we've gotten so primitive where it's either red or it's blue. Like animals, reacting to colors. And they know it. They know it. There's something happening, and it's far bigger, far greater than a Republican or a Democrat, far bigger than a black or a white, far bigger than race. There's a level of control, there's an amount of freedom and liberty that has to be subtracted, will be subtracted. The crime rates in certain cities have just been rising. And I heard a man say on the radio, black man, say, you know what? And this was over in St. Louis. He said, I hear them making talks about having a surveillance, a sky view surveillance over the entire city. With this sky view surveillance, they're able to track crimes, and they can go 3 hours prior to that actual crime to see who it was, where they came from, where they've been visiting, and where did they go after the crime scene, and able to get a better grip on the city and a better grip on trying to lower that crime rate. So the black guy who was on the radio said, you know what? I don't mind giving up some of my liberties, my privacy, and my freedom if it means that I can come home with my granddaughters, my grandsons, and we're safe. He said, I don't mind that. These higher ups, these world leaders, these world administrators know that. They know that. They know that the effects of whatever event, whether it's natural or it's staged, they know that the effects will always be real. The effects will always be real. They will always feel real and be real in our lives because they are real effects. Whether or not the event was staged, if it was naturally occurring, if this was a mishap or an accident, whatever, the effects will always be real. And, we, make decisions based off of those effects. You do something that affects someone's child, you can pretty much move the adult the way you want. People were saying they weren't really fans of the vaccine and wearing the mask, and then they're starting to require children in school. Mask is a requirement, and from what I've heard in some schools, vaccination, because the kids are so close. Younger kids are more susceptible to certain things, to certain ailments. So having a vaccine would be, in their case, ideal. And these are their kids. Every parent don't have the aptitude to homeschool, or the patience, or the time, or the schedule. So sometimes the school is like a scapegoat for them. It's a way for me to get away from you for a little while. It's a way for me to get to work and actually be able to work and do my schedule, to bring home income, to bring home finance, to take care of the bills. A lot of people really didn't have much of a choice just simply because of bills, expenses. Gotta have a car, gotta have a house, gotta have electricity, gotta eat. And so a lot of people in certain fields in the workforce didn't have a choice. Like I gotta pay my bills. It's crazy, yo. These higher ups, these elites, they know it. They know that you really don't have much of a choice. If you got children, that's a wrap for the average person. You do get people that are self sufficient, self reliant, and are able to make something happen on their own. But for the most part, board is locked up, and you only got so many avenues before you have to bite the bullet and do what they say. And we're missing that. We're missing that whole point. You got some people that see it. I can admit that, but there's a lot of people that simply don't see it. Don't see the move that's happening. And just see how the world is being mishandled and misused. How the world is being neglected. How you got some countries dealing with like super hyperinflation. I think some country, if I think it was Venezuela, they've had issues for the longest. But I think it was like a person's monthly wage to be able to afford a McDonald's sandwich. It was like a person's monthly wage for one combo meal. It had gotten so ridiculous. And then you had some Americans who were going out there and buying property. We didn't care. We just knew it was cheap property and that the value could possibly go up in the future and we can make something out of it, when things calm down. No, we didn't care. It was like, oh man, it's cheap. It's so much that we don't pay attention to and we're not thinking about, we're not considerate of. And we've underestimated government, higher officials, higher ups, elites, world leaders, or world administrators. But we forget that a lot of these guys, they know the script. They know the next event, probably before the event even takes place. We're the ones in the audience saying ooh and ah at these events because they're new to us, but expected from them. That was my rant. That was my rant. Just wanting us to realize that there are people who set a lot of these events that we're dealing with, a lot of the effects that we've been dealing with. A lot of people that set this stuff up. This country is one big stage. This world is, and we've just been going right along with it. thinking that these are just naturally occurring events or just out of nowhere events. These are unsudden events or unfortunate events, and a lot of them are. A lot of them are out of nowhere and sudden and unfortunate. But most of all, these events are planned. And your reaction and your perception of the event was planned. And how you treat your neighbors and how you talk to other people and treat other races because of that event was planned. So we got to start learning how to think a little bit more outside the box, realizing that nothing is naturally happening. And the way that I naturally feel about it, somebody else thought about it. Somebody else banked on me feeling that way. If you guys are enjoying the content that we bring, please like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll do some more videos, kind of just chit-chatting and talking about this. And yeah, we will catch you guys later. Peace.